Well, hello everybody on the internet. Welcome to another glorious Monday of listening to me, Dakia, rambling about my miniatures painting. Today it's the 19th of August 2019, and let's get this show on the road. Starting with the few metal minis I've painted this week. Last week was all metal, almost. This week is mostly plastic, but there's these three. And, well, to start with the standouts here, we have the Dominatrix Libby in her Dom gear, and normal Liberty in just armor. These are two hassle-free minis, and I painted these at the game store last Monday. Not much to say about them, really. A little bit dark, but it could be the light. And I finished the second to last of the Dark Sword minis. This is Arston Whitebeard with the weird magic sword, casting OSL on him. Now I went, compared to what Jessica does on the DVD, she does a very subtle effect where she blends the blue into the colors of, she does mixes of the color of the blue and of the underlying clothing. But I painted the clothing so long ago I forgot what colors I used, or paints rather. And B, I wanted a more stark effect. I didn't want to go quite as subtle as she did. I wanted it to pop more, be really obvious on the tabletop. Could have increased the contrast on the actual sword, now that I look at it. Could have had more glowing points on it, perhaps. But it'll do. So here's the first batch of plastic minis, Reaper Bones, all of them from the Bones 4 Kickstarter core set. Closest to the camera we have the demons, or devils, that I didn't quite finish last week. They've now had the final touches put to them. And here's the red one and the blue one. And the purple one, the female demon. So, yeah, they turn out okay. And then we have the snake men. They're called the Nagrenda, but you know, I painted them up. This color scheme I actually got from the D&D Monster Manual, 5th edition, where they have the Yuan Ti. And there's two examples, two pieces of art with the snake, really snake-like Yuan Ti. One has blue scales and one has turquoise. So I made the soldiers blue, bright blue, and here's some more. Yeah, don't worry, I'll show you still pics at the end. And the more priestess or sorceress-like one is a blue-green, a turquoise color, and summoning a ball of green fire. Not too much work put into them, but I think they're kind of striking in effect. Now the last of the bones for this week is a collection of people who seem to be heavy metal, but they are actually plastic. We have all these armored people from the Adventurers set in the Kickstarter. Like I mentioned, I divided them up into 3 groups. These are all the full plate dudes and one woman. There will be others to follow. Now, I spent a little bit more time on these two for some reason, and they came out pretty cool looking. And these guys I thought were funny. Matched pair of guards. I was a little bit more slapdash with these knights. There were so many of them. I just put some random colors on their various pieces of clothing, and some very simple armor and weapon painting, because you know they're sort of horde minis. They're not characters really. And that, my friends, is the total of what I've painted this week. So not that much of a slowdown this week at 21 minis, but that was because this week was the relatively simple, easy startup week at school. Starting today, it's full time, full blasts, full steam ahead, and you'll see a reduction, I think, in the number of minis per week. But let's go on to works in progress anyway.
So I'm actually almost caught up. The only old business still on my work table, as in prepped long ago, is this winged whatchamacallit. And I've actually done one thing more on her since last week. I painted the hair. I'd done the hair in the same white scheme as Arston's Whitebeard's hair. And now it's time to go on to the other sections on the DVDs that cover her: the skin, the wings, that is the feathers, and the armor. The rest of her clothing, specifically her long cloak and the staff, is not covered. I'll have to make up my own ideas about that, but it shouldn't be a problem. So a couple more weeks. I mean, this is a slow burn. I mean, because there is a lot of hours on the DVD to watch about her before I get down to actually painting, so that's why it takes time. So maybe half finished by next week and the other half week after, perhaps, is a reasonable ambition.
And here's the collection of newly primed plastic minis. 3 resin figures from Shield Wolf Miniatures in the first row, and then a bunch of Reaper bones, mostly airbrushed with my tan primer. The exception is this one. This one is a gray primer. It's done by brush, and I've put a base coat on the base. And the reason I did that was that this portion, which sits on top here, I felt needed to be dealt with separately, so I could paint the... Oh, now I broke it off. Fuck. Oh well. The portion under the cloak. What did I do with them? Yeah, I expect this was inevitable. It's a very iffy connection. It had to break eventually. Not sure how I'm going to handle this, honestly. We'll see. I don't know if I can pin this. I'll try. In any case, this is not going in the traveling case to go with me to the game store night. I'll bring these two and possibly one or a couple of the Bones minis. Sorry you had to see me screw something up on camera, but oh well, that's what happens when you try to do something with one hand and while looking in another direction. Oh well. Okay, emergency repairs accomplished, I think. You can probably see there's a slight gap there. There's a sheen of brass, maybe, in the gap. That's a bit of brass rod. So I did manage to pin it. It's a shallow pin. It hasn't gone very deep into the arm or the wrist. But it's there and it's strengthening it. And by the way, I have to comment again what a weird weapon this is. Why
2 bows in a line would be any use for anything. I don't know. I mean, I can imagine it was a top and bottom bows, so you could shoot 2 arrows maybe, or bolts. But this just looks really odd. But anyway, let's hope this holds. I'll try to be more careful with it. As a miniatures related aside, I thought I'd show you a little bit of how I recently expanded my storage space for minis. These are some IKEA Detolf glass cases. I know a lot of painters have these, and they complain that the issue with them is that there aren't enough shelves. See, the original shelves here are this one. The original shelves are only where these bars are. So this one, and this one, and the bottom. And so what I've done is I've bought brackets that are specially made by a guy in the UK. And then I went to a glass cutter and ordered glass panes. The brackets were really cheap. The panes and getting them delivered to my home was pretty expensive, but what you gonna do? Space is at a premium. And so I managed to install 1 to 3 extra shelves in each case. And you can see that I've started putting some minis on some of them. Not all, some of them are still empty, which means that I feel like I have a lot of space now. And well, I've had these now for a little over 24 hours. And as you can see, I've put some weight on some of them, and they have not collapsed yet. So I'm hopeful that they'll hold. And, you know, as I said, they were a little bit expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than getting a bigger apartment. Or throwing out my old shelves and getting new ones that have, you know, that have more shelves stacked on them. Just a little something I thought might interest you. It's that time again when I show you what arrived in my latest package from Reaper. First off, we have the promo mini for August, who's known as the female elf wizard here. She had actually a name on the website. What was it? Antianel? Something like that. This is Bones Black. We have a few from the Pathfinder range. We have Meiko Kaijitsu, an NPC in several different of the adventure paths for Pathfinder. We have 2 packages with 3 mites in each, which are some sort of a small humanoid being. We have another pack of 4 gremlins, which the sculpts I felt were very similar to those for the mites, and I wanted about 10 mites, but I didn't want to buy like 4 packs of the same, so I thought, oh, this can stand in. I'll paint them as mites. Mites are sort of like, if I recall correctly, just sort of some bluish skinned thingies. More monsters. We have the Dire Bat, which is a multi-piece model with a flying stand. We have Piers, the young mage, Sarah the seeress, and Phineas Greybone the necromancer. Now, I have not made any announcement of new projects until now. That's because my next projects will be these. Maybe not all of them, but I will prep most of these for next Monday, and I will bring some of them to the game store next Monday to paint them there. Probably the characters, primarily, you know, not the mites or the dire bat. But yeah, this is a lot of
a lot of projects for painting during the school semester, but a lot of them, I think, the mites and the gremlins, I don't think will take very much time. I can sort of production line them, and I don't need to be very careful or detailed with them. They can be speed painted pretty much. So it's just a few characters and the dire bat that need some tender loving care. So yeah, that is the plan. And that wraps up this episode of Monday Miniatures Ramble. I hope you enjoyed it. Click like if you did. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Comment about what particularly caught your eye. And join me here again in a week. Next Monday, same channel, same old Akian. Same, well, different minis, sort of. But you know the drill. I'm signing off.